So what does Xatu do? Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we're going to look at a card that I didn't really even know whether or not it existed until it was suggested to me to play, and that is Xatu. Xatu from Cosmic Eclipse. Hasn't seen any play since it came out, but it does have a pretty powerful attack, and with some additions of some extra consistency from Sword and Shield, things like Quick Ball and Professor Magnolia, maybe we can actually get this thing to work. We'll take a look at it, but first, if you do like the content, please consider subscribing. About 70% of the people who watch these videos don't actually subscribe to the channel, so if you did that, that would be a massive, massive help, as well as liking and commenting if you wish. That would be great. We'll take a look at the list now so that we can see how this thing actually works. So obviously the deck is built around that Xatu. Here it is. From Cosmic Eclipse, it has 80 HP and 2 attacks. The first one, Creepy Wind, confuses our opponent. We're not going to be using that. That's not necessarily that great. But the second attack is where we are looking at. It's called Life Drain. For a Psychic and a Colorless, we can flip a coin. And if heads, we can put damage counters on our opponent's active Pokemon until its HP is 10. That means that we are one tick of Shrine of Punishment away from getting a knockout on whatever Pokemon GX is in the active. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been seeing quite a lot of Pokemon GX on the ladder recently. Pikarom, Mew Mew, ADP Zacian, all sorts of stuff floating around ripe for the taking. So we're going to try and get Xatu to work. Obviously this is a slightly roguer deck than we'd normally cover, but hey, that's okay. We're going to do our best. We want to set this thing up. It has a psychic attack cost, so we're going to pair it with Malamar. We want to get as many energy onto our Xatu as we can early, but after we've done that, we need to start accelerating some of them from the discard pile so we can use Malamar to do that. So we've got a 3-3 line of Malamar to go with our 3-3 Natu Xatu line, and we can also play a Ditto Prism as well. We also play one Giratina. Since we do have that extra kind of Malamar engine going for us, it would be kind of silly to not play Giratina. Also, if we do manage to get a coin flip heads and reduce our opponent's HP down to 10, then we can potentially use Distortion Door from Giratina to try and do the last 10 points of damage. Maybe we put all of that damage on a Zacian V. It goes down to 10 HP, and then Giratina can come in from the discard pile after we've gusted something else out into the active and take a couple of prizes that way. So we'll see if we can do that. But Shadow Impact also very strong. It means that we've got a game plan against some of the decks that are probably going to try and beat us without utilizing GX Pokemon. Things like Baby Blacephalon. We can loop Giratina to try and win that. We also have the Jirachi engine for consistency. We're playing Malamar. Jirachi and Malamar tend to go together quite well. Stellar Wish obviously very, very good for finding trainer cards, and that generally means that we're going to run 2 copies of Escape Board as well. We've only managed to fit 2 copies of Switch in this list, so if you can fit some more in, that's probably not a bad idea, but that does make up the core bit of our engine. And then we've also got, for added consistency, 1 copy of Zacian V to use Intrepid Sword to draw 3 cards at the end of our turns, especially our early ones, and Oricorio-GX in order to draw some cards after one of our Pokemon has been knocked out. So even if we do lose a Xatu with 2 energy on it, we still have the opportunity to draw some extra cards, which is very important. This Pokemon line looks pretty strong to me. We'll move on to the rest of the list. We've got 4 Quick Ball. I mentioned Sword and Shield brings a lot of consistency to decks that didn't have it before, so Quick Ball is coming out into this list to try and find those basics. We still have Mysterious Treasure to try and find most of our Pokemon. Jirachi, Zacian, and Ditto obviously can't find with them, but Xatu and Malamar you can. And then we have a couple of Pokemon Communication as well, so that in the early game we can find a Zacian if we need to. That's a pretty thick search line for Pokemon, especially in a Malamar list. Which is why we've had to cut down to 2 Switch. We've also got 1 copy of Adventure Bag, and that's because we're running a variety of different tool cards to attach to our Pokemon. Now, we've got 2 Escape Board, like we mentioned, but we also have 4 copies of Spell Tag. And that means if we do flip heads on a Xatu, we can attach this to the Xatu, and when it gets knocked out, we'll be able to deal 10 damage to the Pokemon that has 10 HP remaining and take a knockout ourselves. So it's another way that we can try and get that snipe damage to take knockouts. Obviously, if our opponent doesn't want to take a knockout on the Xatu, then that's good for us. We can confuse it, or we can gust something else out, hopefully, or maybe we don't play gust. What am I talking about? They retreat into something else and we can bring it down to 10 HP. The counter gain is also in the list. We attack for a psychic and a colorless energy with life drain, so we can utilize counter gain to try and get ourselves a quick attack, just in case our Malamars aren't in play yet. So that is a really, really strong core amount of trainer cards to support our strategy. We also have a few extra supporters floating around, and it is a very different supporter line to the ones that you'd normally see. We obviously have 4 Professors Research. This is our go-to draw supporter. But beyond that, we've got a couple of interesting choices. Firstly, we have 2 copies of Cynthia Caitlin. To be able to draw 3 cards is very strong, but it also returns some supporter, one supporter from our discard to our hand, and that supporter card might actually be Will. Will came out in the same set as Xatu. It was destined to work with it, so we thought we'd put it in. Will means that the next time we flip a coin of any kind, we can choose the outcome of that coin flip. So since we need to flip heads, we can play down Will, say we will always get heads on our coin flip. No matter what the coin result is, it's a heads. That means that the effect of the attack is going off. So Will, if we can get our supporter going, is really, really strong. Now, we also play 2 copies of Lieutenant Surge's strategy. Now, this one I'm not super keen on, but it can work out quite well, especially when you use Lieutenant Surge to grab a Cynthia Caitlin, to grab yourself a Will, and play the Will to guarantee yourself those 10 damage counters, not 10 damage counters, but 10 HP left on your opponent's Pokemon. To be able to get Life Drain off is really, really good. So we've got Lieutenant Surge there, so if we need to, we can play a draw supporter and a Will in the same turn. Now, the final card in the deck is obviously Psychic Energy. We run 8 of these. We're not going to be able to search them out with anything, but we are going to be able to accelerate them using Psychic Recharge, so that seems good to me. This deck obviously has a lot of setup required, and it's not always going to work out, but if you're up for a challenge, maybe you've got some Psychic Pokemon to evolve for your PTCGO challenges, then this one might be a decent opportunity for you. What we'll do is we'll jump into a game, and we'll see how it goes on the ladder. Here we go. Let's see how this one works out for us. We're going to try and get this deck going on the ladder. See if we can take a win against a deck that might be appearing in the meta somewhere. We're waiting for our opponent to call the coin flip here. Now, we would like to go first because we're trying to set up a ton of Pokemon, but unfortunately it looks like our opponent's going to be doing it. We've got a good start here, or a good enough one. We've got a Jirachi, which we can place in the active and Escape Board, with which we can retreat, and a Cynthia Caitlin to be able to draw some cards. So it's not the end of the world, and our opponent flips over a Jirachi of their own. So this deck could be anything that we're facing. A Fion does point to a couple. It might be Pikarom, it could be ADP Zacian perhaps, although Fion has seen a little bit of a drop in play from both of those decks, so I'm not sure exactly which one we could be looking at. We could also be looking at something different. Jirachi grabs a custom catcher for our opponent there, and then that's the end of their turn. So we'll see what we can do here. We got a Mysterious Treasure. That seems pretty good. So we'll be able to discard a Psychic Energy and grab either a Natu or an Inkay here. If we get a Natu, then we'll be able to attach to it. But we've got that Malamar in hand, so maybe it's worth grabbing the Inkay here, just because then we're guaranteed to get that evolution next turn. We do also need to find that Natu, so we're going to play Cynthia Caitlin. We'll discard a Psychic Energy. Obviously there are no supporters in the deck yet, and that's a very interesting couple of cards to draw. It looks like we might be using this Mysterious Treasure to grab ourselves a Natu. We'll get rid of probably another Psychic Energy. We don't need that just yet. And here comes the Natu into play. So we can attach that there. We can get ourselves an energy. And then we'll probably just leave it at that. No need to play down the Shrine just yet. We want that in play once we've figured out what we're playing against. So a decent turn from us. Not great, but okay. And now our opponent's going to be able to make a choice. What are they going to do? I think we're in a position where we're probably going to find out the colour of their deck at the very least, whether or not we've got ourselves ADP Zacian or Pikarom. Volkner is a pretty critical card for Pikarom, so it looks like we're going to be playing against that. And it means that they're probably going to grab themselves an energy and an electromagnetic radar. It tends to be the way to go. They missed an attachment last turn on a Pokemon, so that would be quite frustrating for them, but with the right hand here, they could still pull off a pretty big attack. So the EMAG Radar here will probably discard a couple of energy if you can afford to. There they go. And we'll grab probably Pikarom and a Dedenne, unless they've got one of them in hand. They're actually grabbing the Raichu and a Alolan Raichu there as well. So they've probably got the Dedenne in hand, because otherwise they would have gone for it. An attachment goes onto the Pikarom. This is looking like a pretty perfect turn for them. They've got Vitality Band. That's not going to make a big difference for us. And then they're using Stellar Wish on Jirachi. Now, this is an interesting one just in general. If they do have the Dedenne in hand, it's probably best for them to draw their cards first and then use Jirachi. But, I mean, I don't know what they've got in their hand, so they could have anything. Actually grabbing Switch here, so they might be looking to just switch straight into this Pikarom. I'm actually going to use Whirlpool Suction here, so we get to choose one of these Pokemon to go in the active. I think it's just going to have to be Inkay. If they do knock us out, it's fine. We've got Jirachi and an Escape Board. If they don't, we can retreat into that Natu or even the Jirachi and get going. But actually, our opponent here is really stalled out. They didn't have the Dedenne to play, so maybe getting a little bit greedy, grabbing the Raichu there. And we're in a position where I think we might just have to put this Escape Board on the Inkay and retreat into Jirachi. That's actually the most important thing for us now, is we need to find some cards. So Cynthia Caitlin's going to be the option for us here. I think we just need to get rid of this spell tag. We might even get rid of the Malamar. It really depends on how we feel our next turn's going to go. We're going to have to just get rid of one of them. It looks like it's probably going to be the spell tag. We can't get a supporter back, but there you go. That's actually a pretty solid hand to get. What we can do is we can Pokecom away this Malamar. We can choose between a couple of things. Do we get maybe another basic to put down, or do we grab ourselves our attacker for next turn? We get a Xatu perhaps. It's a bit of a tough choice because we do have the Oricorio, so if our opponent does take a knockout, then Oricorio will actually be able to draw us a few more cards. We've got a Will. If we hold on to this Pokecom, we could potentially get a Xatu attack off next turn for guaranteed knockout on a GX Pokemon. But what we'll do is we'll Pokemon Communication. We might just grab ourselves a Ditto here. I feel like it's the safest play. It's probably not the best play we could make, but obviously we're leaving a lot to chance just with this Oricorio. So Ditto seems like a fine option. Gives us a bit of flexibility. We are expecting to fall behind, obviously. There are two Pokemon on our opponent's side of the field that we could potentially knock out using Shrine and Xatu's attack. So it's not the end of the world, but we do need to be wary of it. The Jirachi grabbing a Quick Ball here, and that Quick Ball looks like it probably will find the Dedenne. Actually getting rid of another Quick Ball here, going for Tapu Koko, so perhaps the game plan for our opponent here is slightly different to what we suspected. Dance of the Ancients will put 2 energy from the discard pile in play, and that means that this Pikarom is actually ready to start attacking this turn with another energy attachment. So looks pretty good. Custom Catcher coming out from our opponent here, so probably a good thing that we managed to get that Inkay, that Ditto down. And looks like our opponent here ready to start attacking with Pikachu Zekrom. They're, if they get an energy, going to be able to take a knockout on this Inkay, which is no worries by me. They've got Zero Aura as well, so they're going to be able to freely retreat around the board no matter what happens. And this Full Blitz here could be quite frightening. Energy could go to the Raichu, or our opponent could just back themselves in here and try and get the Tag Bolt. Now, if they do, and they've put them all on the active, we can potentially get ourselves a knockout this turn. Now, we've got Oricorio and Will in hand. If we can Jirachi into something like a Lieutenant Surge, or even another way to draw Pokemon, we could potentially get there. Or we just risk it all on this Natu in the active and hope for the best. So we've got a spell tag. That's not going to do the job. realistically, we need energy and an evolution. So let's do our best here. We've got Quick Ball, Counter Gain, and Pokemon Communication. This is unbelievable because what we've done is we've just grabbed exactly what we need. So Quick Ball, I'm a bit excited here. Quick Ball is going to get rid of probably Spell Tag again. We keep discarding those, which is disappointing. We're going to grab ourselves a Pokemon of some description. Then we're going to use Pokemon Communication to shuffle that one away. Grab ourselves the Xatu. We can put the Xatu into play, we can attach a counter gain to the Xatu, and then we've got the Shrine of Punishment and the Will to guarantee that this life drain takes a knockout on this Pika on this turn. So Will goes down, we get guaranteed heads on our life drain. We choose heads, coin flip is heads, 240 damage onto the Pikarom thanks to Shrine, and that's 3 prizes for us. We are halfway to winning this game, and most importantly, we actually managed to get all of the energy off of our opponent's side of the field, so that's really, really strong. We grab ourselves an Inkay, an Escape Board, and a Quick Ball off of the prizes, so we are set and ready to go here. We can replace the Xatu in play, we can put down another Inkay if they do knock us out. Oh, we're in such a good position, and our opponent still needs to take 5 prizes. So if they can't manage to, well, they need to take 4 knockouts. They can't take 4 knockouts before we flip heads on one of their tag team Pokemon. We're going to be real happy. Stadium Nav coming down here. They get a heads, they replace the stadium, but no, they don't get a heads. So that means they can't replace this Shrine. Now we're in a position where if they do attempt to attack, then we could potentially, could get a knockout with life drain. They've already attached once, so they can't get themselves another energy into play. They're going to need to find themselves Thunder Mountain. If they don't get it off of this Jirachi, they look like they might be in a big bit of trouble. Looks like they're going to switch, so maybe they have found it here. Switching into the Raichu, and that's a really interesting choice. Unless they've got the Thunder Mountain, we can actually potentially get a coin flip for game here. Oh, they're looking to great catch us, so it looks like they're trying to stall, but we found the Escape Board off of the prizes, so they're going to detonate looking for that Thunder Mountain. Did they find it? Oh, you'd think that if they'd got it, they'd slam it down, so I'm feeling pretty confident we might potentially have snuck out of this one. The Escape Board goes down on the Jirachi, and if our opponent doesn't have Thunder Mountain, they're just going to need to pass, which means that all we need is an energy and a coin flip, and we're going to be able to win this game, which is unbelievable. There's the Shrine tick, so we are looking at a 50-50 shot of winning this game as long as we find ourselves an energy. Oh, my word. So we're going to grab Malamar here. That Malamar's going to go down on Ditto. That means that we can get ourselves our energy this turn guaranteed. We also can potentially get rid of Inkay to try and find another Natu if we want. There's an Escape Board for the Oricorio, although there is the risk that if we do miss this coin flip, we might not be able to get ourselves a knockout. So we'll evolve into Malamar. We're going to put the Escape Board on the Oricorio. We are probably going to Quick Ball away this Inkay. We're going to find ourselves, or we could just grab a Natu. Yep, let's do that. Or we could grab a Jirachi, actually. That maybe. I don't think so. We've run out of boards. We shouldn't be doing things we don't need to do. Grab the Natu. We've got an energy. We've actually got another Xatu for this next turn coming up, so that's pretty strong. We can Psychic Recharge. Put it onto the Xatu. We'll attach an energy because, you know, we probably need to. Then we can retreat into Xatu, and we're looking at a coin flip here to win. Oh, the tails. No, that's okay. That's okay. We've still got 5 opportunities to do it, because as long as our opponent doesn't take 5 prizes, we should be fine. They go for the reset stamp here, and that seems like a pretty fair play, and we actually find Surge and Will. We won't be able to play the Surge this turn because we're not behind. Unbelievably enough, we're actually in front in this one. But if we do find ourselves a Xatu, we could potentially win the game next turn if we come across a Shrine of Punishment. So that would be really, really big for us here. We're looking at probably a knockout on the Xatu in the active. We've got the Oricorio. We can draw 3 cards. If we do manage to find the Xatu, then we'll be able to guarantee the coin flip, which means that all we'd need is 1 shrine tick at some point during the game for us to win. So it looks like we're probably in a position where we best go for the Oricorio here. There's a part of me that really, really wants to put the Jirachi in the active, because if we do get the shrine, we probably win the game. But you'd have to think that the smartest thing here to do is probably to put that Oricorio in the active. It's got the board already, we're guaranteed the retreat. We actually just found the Xatu, so if we get rid of this Inkay, we can potentially get ourselves another knockout. Xatu comes down, we can... Oh, they're not even going to play it out, they're just going to concede. There it is. Xatu takes the W against Pikarom on the ladder. I'm not gonna lie, that is one of the best games of Pokemon, the most fun games of Pokemon that I've had in a long time. The deck is not gonna be super consistent. Don't expect to win every time, and if anything comes up against you that doesn't have those GX Pokemon in it, it is gonna be a struggle, but I can tell you right now that we had a lot of fun playing that game. Thanks for coming along. We hope you had fun watching us. And we would love it if you would subscribe and check out the rest of our content. There is a click button here for you to subscribe, as well as a couple of videos that YouTube thinks you might like. Down the bottom we have a bit of a playlist of some more decks in the Sword and Shield format. And above us we have our Facebook and Twitter at @thesableeyes_YT, where you can follow us for more of this kind of stuff. Yeah, without further ado, thank you very much for coming along. We'll see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye. Xatu.